Strange Behavior, an anthology of absolute
we are recording now.
We're recording now.
An anthology of absolute.
All right, so
An
should I just go
anthology
in?
of absolute loose
I'm going to start out
luridity.
With intros.
with a little intro part.
Do it.
Okay. 7:05. People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos is brought to you by BunnySlippers.com and FoundItemClothing.com. Check out some really cool novelty slippers at BunnySlippers.com and screen-accurate t-shirts from your favorite cult films from FoundItemClothing.com. Check out Strange Behaviors by Nihilism Revisited, an anthology of bizarre and strange stories, which happens to have me in one part of it. But yes, go to Amazon and check out Strange Behavior, an anthology of absolute luridity. And also look for me later in I don't want to say that one yet in case I don't end up in that. And also a little bit of sad news, we did not end up becoming continuing nominees for the L. Ron Hubbard, not L. Ron Hubbard, Robert E. Howard Foundation Award, so yeah. But here's some good news. I was recently at WizardCon, or Wizard World Portland 2018, and I spoke there, so I'll talk about that later in the episode. And this is Series 7, Episode 5, written and edited by Daniel Spitzer, audio by Sara and Daniel Spitzer, music by Kevin MacLeod. PGttCM is part of the Dark Myths Collective. We are engaged in an ongoing discussion of the Cthulhu mythos and its timeline regarding Earth. To be part of it, contact us at pgttcm@gmail.com or join us on Facebook or Twitter. Just search for PGTTCM. That's P as in Paul, G as in golf, T as in Tyrannosaurus, T as in tyrant, C as in see you later,
Nope.
mother.
Nope.
M as
And
in
you.
C as in Cancer, M as in mushroom. Cancer is the astrological sign. Jeez, get off my back. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe to PGTTCM on iTunes and Stitcher or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, to let you know, we have a new batch of stickers out, so if you would like some stickers, message DB Spitzer or PGTTCM or email us at pgttcm@gmail.com and find out our address to send us a self-addressed stamped envelope to PGTTCM and get a grip of stickers. If you want a whole bunch of stickers so that, you can sticker tag your town, send a couple of bucks and I'll send you a couple bucks worth of stickers.
Greetings, listeners. It is we, DB Spitzer and Sara here to talk to you once again about the Cthulhu mythos. Its books, its monsters, its unfortunate human casualties, its timeline in general, and even its tangential bits, like the Dreamlands or things of a weird nature that are Lovecraftian leaning. Once more, we head into those dark woods, further feeling those malevolent forces upon us. Once again, we walk down the lightless stone staircase in the middle of nowhere. Check out the merch table at pgttcm.threadless.com, and you can find all kinds of shirts by me, DB Spitzer, even though just right now we just have the logo, but I'm going to upload some stuff from an upcoming art project that I'm working on, something about a coloring book involving great old ones and authors of ill repute, and anyway, you're gonna have to check that out. Speaking of checking stuff out, hey Sara.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, baby.
How are you? How are you doing over there?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing good. We've got 2 microphones set up in the studio.
I know, it's amazing.
I know.
No more like one of us sounding echoey while the other one sounds very clear.
Well, I mean that still might be the case, but that's just the equipment.
Well, at least no more of us trying to share a microphone.
Yeah.
That never turns out well.
Anyway, so how has the world of sci-fi and fantasy and weird fiction and horror been treating you in the last, let's see, it's been 2 weeks, a month since we've recorded last?
Yeah, about. It's been pretty good.
Let's see, a lot of Avatar: The Last Airbender, I
Yes,
believe.
we've been revisiting a pretty old but amazing show, totally worth checking out, called Avatar: The Last Airbender on my Nickelodeon.
Yeah, that was it's amazingly good, and it's like
Yeah.
this shouldn't be on Nickelodeon. This should be on like a channel that you have to pay a lot of money to
Right.
see like really good children's programming.
Right, and I've seen this show like several times, the whole through, and then the sequel called The Legend of
Korra?
Korra. Thank you, The
Yeah.
Legend of Korra, and I would like to read some of the comic books because I hear they're very good. There's like comic books that happen between The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra. To like there's some stories that are left over at the end of the show. Anyway, so that's pretty cool, but of course it's DB's first watch through, which is exciting.
Yeah, no, I've been enjoying it quite a bit.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been reading a lot of science fiction lately because I've been reading a really great story called Call the Midwife. It's an autobiography by a woman who was a midwife in the 50s in the Docklands of London, and they have a miniseries off of it. But it's if you want some gory human death, I'm telling you, this one's the one. It is kind of stark and amazing to think that it's like kind of real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Let's see.
So I know it's not usually our audience's thing to look at this, but it's pretty amazing.
Okay.
And if you're interested in going outside of your comfort zone, I really recommend it.
Okay. Well, if there's something that this audience is comfortable with, it's going outside of their comfort zone. They listen
Hopefully.
to us talk about tentacles and stuff like that, and they read bizarro fiction and read weird stuff, and some of them like true crime, and some of them like all kinds of weird stuff and
That's
horror
true.
and whatnot.
That's
so,
true.
you know.
You're right. I shouldn't make assumptions about who's listening.
Yeah, and we're going to be talking about some cool stuff. I'm going to be talking about a cool collection edited by Scott R. Jones from Martian Migraine Press in a little bit. It's called Resonator.
Ooh.
It's From Beyond kind of inspired, and for those who don't know, a From Beyond is about the Tillinghast resonator being turned on and calling forth from beyond. But like Joseph Curwen, or like Charles Dexter Ward, Mr. Tillinghast had a problem putting down what he brought up, or, I mean, how does H.P. Lovecraft put it? Do not call up which you cannot put down. And do not leave your cell phone.
Do not leave your cell phone unsilenced during recording.
Yeah, come on. What do you think this is? A movie?
Yeah. I like to talk on the phone in the movie theater.
Yeah, I know.
I'm a horrible human being.
Yeah, I've seen you FaceTime.
Right? I
on
like
your
to
phone. I'm
FaceTime
kidding.
in a movie theater.
Sarah doesn't do
No,
that.
I
haven't seen Sarah ever do that.
I silence it when they say, hey, guess what? Silence your phone.
Yeah, I don't do that.
Everybody wants to talk to me all day.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway.
should we talk about Joseph Curwen?
Hey, I wanted to talk about Wizard World.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about Wizard World Con first.
Yeah, I was you were hanging out with your kids at a swimming pool.
We had to go swimming.
That's
It
totally
was
cool.
Horrible hardship.
That's totally cool.
It was really fun.
It was a swimming pool I remember from my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I went to the I think it was the Oregon Convention Center
Portland
in
Convention
Portland,
Center.
Oregon. Yeah, or the Portland. Anyway, it's right by the Moda Center.
Mm-hmm.
And they were hosting Wizard World 2018. I went to Wizard World 2015 when I was recovering from my head injury.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to be a comic book convention. And I was like really, really upset and really, really confused. I only found like one comic book thing from iHeart Comics from Vancouver, Washington. Really cool place. Shout out to iHeart Comics in Vancouver, Washington.
Woohoo!
One of the last great comic book stores out here on the West Coast.
Woohoo!
Specifically Vancouver, Washington. So if you're in Portland, truck on up here to iHeart Comics. They're not a sponsor. They're not even like I mean, they're Facebook friends, I think,
They're
but
probably not that aware of the show.
yeah, I don't think they're aware of the show. Anyway, yeah. So check out iHeartComics.com. They have a really cool thing going on for them. Anyway, yeah, so WizardWorld.com. I was there this year, and it was pretty cool. I was on a panel. So anyway, it was a fun panel. Sean Hode was supposed to be leading it, but he was a little late there, and I was cosplaying as Ken Hite. So I said, "Well, I'm the one who's dressed as Ken Hite. I'll moderate this thing." So I sat in the middle, and I started the show, and I made the dumb moderator joke, "Hey, is this?" And no one laughed. You know, it's like when you joke, be like, "Oh, is this, you know, this thing?" And it's everyone knows it's not that thing.
Right. It was
But
not Pokemon.
It was not, learning Pokemon ages 5 to 8.
I love this. I love this idea.
Yeah, it was in the next hall over. I was walking around to see what other people were going to be going to instead of that. And I was like, oh yeah, no, there's definitely going to be people going to the Pokemon starting class.
Yes.
And there was like Art of Digimon. It's like people showing off their Digimon art. And I'm like, Digimon's still a thing? Okay. But yeah.
I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah. But there was all kinds of, and it's kind of a celebration of fandom and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, cool. And there was just like a lot of like people dressed as Japanese teenagers with brightly colored wigs on, and
Do you
a lot
mean
of
anime teenagers.
yeah. But I mean, like those shows
Japanese anime.
specifically have like a Japanese school uniform
That's
and
true.
take place in Japan.
That's true. That's true. But
they're
if you're
animated.
dressed up as a Japanese teenager, it might be a little bit different.
True.
than
True.
What an anime character looks like.
True. I don't think.
First of all-
I don't think that Japan looks like anime.
Okay.
FYI.
The skirts are usually longer.
I do have like a cultural understanding.
Okay, good.
Yes. I try not to exoticize things. Yeah, I can separate fantasy from reality.
Well,
And
you're one of the few. Good job.
yeah. And realize it's probably really no different from where I live, thanks to globalization.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been to Japan, but if it's anything like China in that it's different from the U.S., it's just different and the same at the same time,
Yep.
which is a weird feeling.
Oh yeah. Anyway, different and the same. Well, that sounds like Joseph Curwen and Charles Dexter Ward.
Oh my goodness.
Do you want to start us out on a little bit of Charles Dexter Ward and Joseph Curwen after I insert this quote?
Sure.
Having only this consolation, that he was never a fiend or truly a madman, but only an eager, studious, and curious boy whose love of mystery and of the past was his undoing. He stumbled on things no mortal ought to ever know, and reached back through the years as no one ever should reach. And something came out of those years to engulf him. H.P. Lovecraft, ever hear the guy? The case of Charles Dexter Ward.
All right. Meet Joe Curwen. Charles Dexter Ward is a fictional character from H.P. Lovecraft's, ever hear of the guy, story, The Strange Case of Charles Dexter Ward, a young man from a prominent Rhode Island family who disappears from a mental asylum. He was incarcerated after a prolonged period of insanity during which he exhibited minor and inexplicable physiological changes. His empty cell is found to be very dusty. The bulk of the story concerns the investigation conducted by the Ward's family doctor, Marinus Bucknell Willett, in an attempt to discover the reasons for Ward's madness. Willett learns that Ward has spent the past several years attempting to discover the grave of his ill-reputed ancestor, Joseph Curwen. The doctor slowly begins to reveal the truth behind the legends surrounding Curwen, an 18th century shipping entrepreneur and alleged alchemist who was in reality a necromancer and mass murderer. A raid on Curwen's farm was remarkable for the shouted incantations, lights, explosions, and some not quite human figures shot down by the raiders. The raiders swore any witnesses to strict secrecy about what they saw and heard. As Willett's investigations proceed, he finds that Charles has recovered Curwen's ashes and through the use of magical formulae contained in documents found hidden in Curwen's home in Providence, was able to call forth Curwen from his essential salts and resurrect him. Willett also finds that Curwen, who resembles Charles enough to pass for him, murdered and replaced his modern descendant and resumed his evil activities. Although Curwen convinces onlookers that he is Charles, his anachronistic mindset and behavior lead authorities to certify him insane and imprison him in an asylum, which I'm gonna hold my comments till the end. While Curwen is locked up, Willett's investigation leads him to a bungalow in Pawtucket Village, which Ward had purchased while under the influence of Curwen. The house is on the site of an old farm, which was Curwen's headquarters for his nefarious doings. Beneath is a vast catacomb that the wizard had built as a lair during his previous lifetime. During a horrific journey through this labyrinth in which Willett sees a deformed monster in a pit, he discovers the truth about Curwen's crimes and also the means of returning him to the grave. It is also revealed that Curwen has been engaged in a long-term conspiracy, with certain other necromancers, associates from his previous life, who have somehow escaped death, to resurrect and torture the world's wisest people, to gain knowledge that will make them powerful and threaten the future of mankind. While in Curwen's laboratory, Willett accidentally summons an ancient entity who is an enemy of Curwen and his fellow necromancers. The doctor faints, awakening much later in the bungalow. The entrance to the vaults has been sealed as if it never existed, but Willett finds a note from the being written in Latin instructing him to kill Curwen and destroy his body. Willett confronts Curwen at the asylum, and it succeeds in reversing the resurrection spell, returning the sorcerer to dust. News reports reveal that Curwen's prime co-conspirators and their households have met brutal deaths, and that their lairs have been destroyed.
Dun dun dun!
Mom saving the world again! Woo! Yay, Willett! Joseph Curwen. Joseph Curwen, Charles Dexter Ward's ancestor and doppelganger, a successful merchant, shipping magnate, slave trader, and highly accomplished sorcerer, born in what is now Danvers, Massachusetts, 7 miles from Salem, on February 18, 1662. He flees to Providence from the Salem witch trials in 1692. He dies, at least temporarily, in 1771. Wow, that's a long life. In the course of a raid on his lair by a group of important Providence citizens, Abraham Whipple, John and Moses Brown, Isaac Hopkins, among them, who have got wind of only a few of his crimes. He is killed again, presumably for good, by Dr. Willett using Curwen's own sorcery. Curwen perfects a method of reducing the effects of aging to an uncanny degree. He also has the ability to resurrect the dead and converse with them from either the complete corpse or its, quote, essential salts, derived from the ashes of said corpse. This ability is used to obtain privileged intelligence from long-defunct wise men. Defunct? Is that a synonym for dead?
Yes.
Okay, so long dead wise men. To this end, his agents scour the graveyards and tombs of the world for the corpses of illustrious persons, which are then smuggled back to Providence, where Curwen temporarily raises them to torture their secrets out of them. In this endeavor, he is assisted by 2 fellow necromancers and Salem exiles, Jedediah / Simon Ornay, alias Joseph Neddick, who lives in Prague, and Edward Hutchinson, who masquerades as Baron Frenzy in Transylvania. He is able to summon entities such as Yog-Sothoth to assist him in his magic. The ultimate goal of these men's activities, i.e. the nature of the use for the information extracted from the resurrected wise persons, is not completely specified, and its interpretation is largely left to the reader. This ambiguity also affects, notably, the exact circumstances of Curwen's first death. It is evident that he was betrayed and probably killed by the entity summoned in his defense during the siege to the hidden grounds of his farm, but the identity of this being, as well as its possible connection with Yog-Sothoth, whose name is mentioned in the incantations, is left open to speculation. It is significant, however, that the entity's interruption during the confrontation elicits an unmistakable human shout or deep chorus scream, as well as a yell of utter ultimate fright and stark madness that, wrenched from sources of human throats, a yell which came strong and clear, despite the depth from which it must have burst. And that the participants of the raid are left with psychological squeals far beyond those expected by any episode of unconventional warfare. Prior to his first death, Curwen finds a way to create a spell that would transcend time and inspire the descendants to become interested in him and his work, and attempt to bring him back should he ever be slain. When later resurrected by Ward, Curwen initially goes in disguise as a bearded, spectacled Dr. Allen to avoid suspicion due to his close resemblance to Ward. Curwen immediately makes contact with Orne and Hutchinson, who have been alive and active all the while, and starts up his old plots once again. He soon murders Ward when he starts having doubts about what they are doing and assumes his identity. Curwen never hesitates to stoop to murder, torture, or blackmail to achieve his ends. He also uses and kills vast numbers of living slaves as subjects for his experiments. He also feigns some degree of civic spirit and decency, both to his fellow citizens and to his wife, as part of a clever ruse, a social gambit aimed at producing an heir, as well as improving his public image to avoid forced displacement. 1663, February 18th, Joseph Curwen is born in modern-day Danvers, Massachusetts.
Also known as Salem.
1692, March, a witch hysteria engulfs Salem, Massachusetts. Many innocent citizens are accused of witchcraft and executed. The danger drives Joseph Curwen to move to Providence, Rhode Island. 1713, Joseph Curwen donates funds to help rebuild the Great Bridge in Providence. 1738, the famous wit Dr. Cheekley calls on Joseph Curwen at his home and leaves in a very disturbed state. 1746, John Merritt, an elderly and learned Englishman, visits Joseph Curwen. After seeing Curwen's farmhouse library, Merritt wants no more to do with him. 1758, March and April, 2 regiments of royal soldiers pass through Providence. While they are stopped there, a few of their troops disappear without a trace. Joseph Curwen is suspected to be involved. 1761, Joseph Curwen has a new home built. He also donates funds. 1763, March 7th, Joseph Curwen marries Eliza Tillinghast. 1765, May 7th, Joseph and Eliza Curwen's daughter Anne is born. 1770, it becomes obvious to many important figures in Providence that Joseph Curwen is involved in some kind of illegal acts. April 12th, a raid is initiated on Joseph Curwen's Pawtucket farm. In the aftermath, Curwen is never seen again. Curwen's copy of the Necronomicon, unique in having the title Quran-e-Islam on its cover, is spirited away. 1772, a now widowed Eliza Curwen changes her last name and that of her daughter back to Tillinghast. She donates what remains of Joseph Curwen's books to the future Miskatonic University. 1785, Welcome Potter, a great-great-grandfather of Charles Dexter Ward, marries Anne Tillinghast, daughter of Joseph Curwen. 1902, Charles Dexter Ward, is born. 1918, Charles Dexter Ward learns that he is descended from Joseph Curwen. 1919, August, Charles Dexter Ward discovers the portrait and notes of Joseph Curwen. October, Charles Dexter Ward begins delving into the occult. 1920, Charles Dexter Ward graduates from Moses Brown School and begins an intensive 3-year period of occult studies. Crawford Tillinghast creates the Tillinghast Resonator, a device that uses ultraviolet light to show creatures living in a dimension that we can't see. He later dies of apoplexy. He later dies of apoplexy and is accused of murdering his staff. 1923, Charles Dexter Ward, having exhausted local resources for his strange studies, travels to Europe. 1925, Charles Dexter Ward returns to Providence. July, Charles Dexter Ward begins trafficking with Mr. Allen. 1928, February 9th, Charles Dexter Ward attempts to end his arrangement with Mr. Allen and seeks the help of his father. Soon afterwards, Ward undergoes a shocking change of personality. March 8th, Charles Dexter Ward is taken to a private hospital. April 13th, Charles Dexter Ward disappears from his hospital room.
Dusty hospital room.
Very dusty.
That is the case of Charles Dexter Ward, which is a reference to the strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
That's right. It's like a sort of a retelling of it in a very Lovecraftian manner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde didn't have a Necronomicon.
Oh, or no necromancers in general.
No Yog-Sothory.
People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos is brought to you by FoundOutInClothing.com and BunnySlippers.com. Keep your feet toasty this spring, which seems to be a never-ending, pouring down of rain here in the Northwest.
Yeah, we're never going to get any yard work done.
The sun will not shine until June, probably. So bunny slippers, still very useful here.
Mm-hmm.
And be sure to decorate your torso with some screen-accurate t-shirts.
Do you know what else people should definitely do?
What?
Check out People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos at PGTTCM.com.
Oh, yeah.
Check out the RSS feed at PGTTCM.podbean.com.
Woohoo.
Subscribe to us anywhere you subscribe to podcasts, and if they don't have it, then we'll subscribe somewhere else.
Yeah, that's right.
Check out our merch store at threadless.com, pgttcm.threadless.com.
Don't move, for these rays we are able to be seen as well to see. In his classic story From Beyond, H.P. Lovecraft introduced the Tillinghast Resonator, a monstrous device that stimulates dormant senses in man, opens up the unseen worlds to unsuspecting eyes, and calls through terror and ecstasy from a realm far beyond our mundane perceptions. In Resonator, new Lovecraftian tales from beyond, you'll meet the men and women who dare to pull the switch for profit, for pleasure, and peril. Thrill to the creatures, mindless and horribly sentient, that are revealed in wave after wave of uncanny radiation. Turn on the juice, brace your pineal gland for some unprecedented growth, and prepare yourself to go beyond with 17 stories from some of the best writers working in weird fiction today, edited by Scott R. Jones. And that is the back cover of Resonator, New Lovecraftian Tales from Beyond. And there's quite a few names that you'll recognize from other anthologies. And just kind of something that Rossi Lockhart once said: if you're a writer and you wanna continue to be a good writer, grow as a writer, submit your work to anthologies like Word Horde, Martian Migraine Press. There's a ton of them out there, and that's a good way for you to be a writer, get your stuff out there. But you don't have to write a whole novel. Just write a short weird fiction, bizarro, whatever, Lovecraftian, whatever. Do it. Just do it. Don't make excuses for yourself. A writer is someone who writes. Anyway, back to this. So there is it's not listed as short stories, but frequencies within the book. And there is the intro by Mr. Jones, my favorite Canadian mailman. He delivers the mail, and he also has a penis. Circles, or magic circles, noxious machines. Then there's also, of course, From Beyond by H.P. Lovecraft, IPO by Darren Brightman, Infernal Attractions by the one and only Cody Goodfellow, who was on that panel at Wizard World, Satori by Rodney Turner, Professor Hilliard's Electric Lantern by Robert J. Santa, Film Maudit by Christopher Slatsky, Nine Sight by Christine Morgan, Bug Zapper by Richard Lee Bayers, Program to Receive, Oren Gray, Facebook friend, Machine Will Start When You Are Start by Matthew M. Bartlett, Parasitosis by Lindsay Holder, The Happiness Machine by Edward Morris, Turbulence by Scott R. Jones, D. Resonator by everyone's favorite resurrected Lovecraftian avatar, Lehman Kessler. Resonator Superstar by Mythos Superstar Anya Martin. Wizard of OK by Scott Nicklay. The Divide by Damir Salkovac. And then there's a little bit about the authors. This is a fun read. They're short. If you think it sucks, if you think a particular story sucks, you can move on to the next one. No harm, no foul. And I don't really recall too many dogs in this. I read this about 6 months ago, and I was going to I read this about a year ago, and I was going to do it for a May issue episode, but, nervous breakdowns and whatnot, and all that other crap from a year ago. Anyway, so yeah, I have to say, go to Amazon or wherever you buy your books, or MartianMigrainePress.com, and pick up Resonator for about $15, and it's worth a read. It's got a beautiful cover. Resonator. Check it out. You'll love it. It'll be part of your library for years to come, and you'll be like, hey, I want to loan you this book. You gotta give it back, though, because it's cool.
What's your question?
Okay, so Joseph Curwen was born in 1663, and his first death was in 1770? Yeah,
That's a
1770.
Rock Me Amadeus reference.
So that is that's a little over 100 years of life.
Yeah, he's a necromancer.
Right, I know that. I get that. So, but he doesn't age?
No.
How does he avoid getting killed before this?
He moves around.
But he's living in Providence the whole time. Also, those people are apparently very concerned with where people come from.
Yeah, well, he probably moves from one neighborhood to another neighborhood. Considering how small the world is at that point in time, he just move from one part of town to another part of town.
And maybe nobody would even know him over there.
You listen to various true crime podcasts,
Yeah.
and serial killers, and that period of time would just move from one side of town to another.
The whole time.
Yeah, and also he's a very important shipping entrepreneur.
Yeah, and he keeps donating funds, which makes him more of a public figure.
Yeah.
So
that's why they burn him.
Well, I suppose that's why they eventually go after his farm. But
Yeah.
he's 108 years old?
Yeah.
107 years old?
Yeah.
So, and he marries Eliza Tillinghast
Yeah.
when he's around 100. Yeah, a little over 100 years. No, exactly 100 years old. So, does he look 100? Does he look 40?
I think he looks young.
Yeah. Which, I don't know. You know what? Here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing another example of H.P. Lovecraft's, total dismissal of female autonomy.
Yeah.
Because, of course he'll just marry whoever, or he'll marry someone and, to heck with her once. Anyway, sorry to get up on
Well,
my
we don't know
soapbox.
anything about the Tillinghast family.
That's
I mean,
true.
what we do know is they produce
The Tillinghast Resonator.
clever people.
That's true. Clever
So, I mean,
Well,
Curwen
was-
may have been I need someone to produce an heir, but I also
Yeah.
need someone who's going to produce clever children.
people.
So
Right. And so, but I mean, marrying a clever woman, you have to entice her. She's not going to want to marry you because you just are available.
True. And here's something I'm curious about.
Yeah.
Was Eliza Tillinghast a willing participant in the
Ooh.
weird stuff that happened?
That's an interesting
Was
idea.
was she?
Or was she a dupe who finds
Yeah.
out about it later?
Ooh my! I had no idea my husband was a mass murderer who wiped out 2 regiments of the king's army.
And then here's another question I have for you.
Yeah.
If he was involving her,
Mm-hmm.
is she pretending? Is she not pretending? It's that's some tricky stuff.
True. Well, she did possibly donate all of his books from his personal library to
To,
Miskatonic to.
Encourage more.
Well, no. I think
people.
possibly either one to be all right, let's get rid of this evidence,
Right.
or 2, get that garbage out of my house. I don't want my family to be,
Right.
yeah. But or it's the willing assistant who then like evades the law and is like, I was a victim the whole time. And I don't want to use any names because I don't want to get I don't want to be liable in case I'm wrong about
Right.
anything.
Right. I'm really surprised that Charles Dexter Ward is imprisoned in a hospital. Is taken into, like, he's committed because he's acting weird. Because most white men have a lot of latitude to act weird, especially back in the 20s.
Yeah, but not this kind of weird.
Oh.
We're talking about someone who's like acted like a lunatic. Someone who's going around calling things by the wrong names, like antiquated names, and being a weirdo, and everyone's just like, what's the deal with him? There's something wrong with him. And if like the family doctor's like, well, there's something wrong with this guy. We gotta lock him up.
Huh.
Guess you gotta lock him up.
Well, I suppose, but it still seems a little bit, I don't know. It seems a little bit overdone.
Well, it serves the story. It's a literary device.
It is definitely a plot device for sure. Because otherwise he wouldn't be contained. He'd be off in Europe wreaking havoc with his old buddies.
Exactly.
Yeah. He probably also look like young buddies, but whatever.
But thank goodness Dr. Willett
Yeah.
like
He was there to save the day.
reanimated the necromancer's enemy.
Right.
The Van Helsing of the necromancers.
Yeah. And then what's the Van Helsing gonna do now that he's killed those necromancers?
He's probably gonna skulk around in some dark ruins because he's a deformed creature.
Oh. Was he the deformed monster in the pit?
Yeah. Or no. He was not the deformed monster in the pit. That was just one of Curwen's experiments. But no, Willett reanimated through use of essential salts the hero of the story. Besides Willett, who is like the I don't know, like the detective of this story.
The unwilling hero.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, I don't know. You know what? I like that it's a retelling of a story that kind of doppelgangers. I really like doppelganger stories. The first one being, of course, The Parent Trap that I saw. And starring Haley Mills and Haley Mills, obviously. So I like doppelganger stories. I like that there's a doppelganger, but I don't like that Joseph Curwen doesn't put any effort into acting like Charles Dexter Ward.
Oh, well, he's so full of himself. He's so he's like just like riding on necromancer hubris.
Right.
He's like, I got called back from the dead. I got rid of my alter ego. I'm totally pulling this off, you guys. Check out these pantaloons. Aren't they amazing? They got a zipper. They got this metal thing in the back so that you can defecate.
He was wearing his pants backwards?
Oh no! I'm just making a joke.
Okay, all right.
I mean, he's like has no concept of modernity and
Right.
is making a fool of himself,
Well,
even though he is like super clever.
He is very clever. So one of the things that I studied in college was the history of women in America, and I read this.
Yeah.
I saw this documentary about a woman's journal that was kept during the Revolutionary War and afterwards.
Yeah.
And it talks a lot about there being this real shift in American culture after the Revolutionary War and our, independence as a country and of ourselves, where people started feeling like they really had like autonomy and they didn't have to be a part of the old class system anymore. And so, for instance, there isn't like tradition of servitude in our country anymore like there is in England. So like that huge cultural shift must have been pretty hard for old Curwen to get used to.
Yeah.
I mean, and there was a bunch of other cultural shifts in the 100 years since he got killed too.
Yep.
Wait, he got killed? Yeah, 100 years. 120 years.
Yeah.
And then resurrected. I guess it's more like 140 years. Anyway, some real changes.
Some real changes.
Not just technological.
No, social changes.
Exactly. Interesting.
Yeah. Something to think about.
Right. Make a woo.
Yeah. So that is The Case of Charles Dexter Ward.
Yay. Bill's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos is brought to you by FoundoutItemClothing.com and BunnySlippers.com. Keep your feet toasty this spring, which seems to be a never-ending, pouring down of rain here in the Northwest.
Yeah, we're never going to get any yard work done.
The sun will not shine until June, probably. So bunny slippers, still very useful here.
Mm-hmm.
And be sure to decorate your torso with some screen-accurate t-shirts.
Do you know what else people should definitely do?
What?
Check out People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos at PGTTCM.com.
Oh, yeah.
Check out the RSS feed at PGTTCM.podbean.com.
Woohoo.
Subscribe to us anywhere you subscribe to podcasts, and if they don't have it, then we'll subscribe somewhere else.
Yeah, that's right.
Check out our merch store at threadless.com, PGTTCM.threadless.com.
And remember to stay squiggly and keep it weird.
Stay weird and keep it squiggly.
Thank you. All right.
People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos is written by Daniel Spitzer and edited by Daniel Spitzer. Audio by Sara and Daniel Spitzer. Music by Kevin MacLeod. PGTTCM is part of the Dark Myths Collective. Check them out and find out some cool stuff about some even cooler podcasts. Thank you for listening, and remember to rate and review us on iTunes. Subscribe.
Woohoo. Charles Dexter Ward is a fictional character from H.P. Lovecraft's story, The Strange Case of Charles Dexter Ward.
Whoa, what the fuck?
What? I edited it a bit.
You didn't say.
What? What did I
ever
say?
hear the guy.
I didn't, because you just said it in your quote.
I know, but you...
Wait, I should do it too?
You should do it
all
too.
right, let's
Come
back
on,
up.
jeez.
Back up. Erase the bit I just said.
Okay.
Let's make it never happen.
All right, Patreon or patron members only.
You're going to use this as a stinger.
No, I won't use this. I will not use this as a stinger.
It's recorded now. He doesn't have his fingers crossed. Still.
I swear on this burrito, I will not use this as the stinger.
It's okay if you use it as the stinger for reals.
All right, you heard it here, folks.
Okay.